So, 2016, the year where we got not one, not two, but 7 superhero movies, if we count The Killing Joke, which we are. I'd call it a pretty mixed bag, if we're asking the question of whether it was hit or miss for superhero movies last year. Commercially, it was pretty good. Civil War was the highest grossing movie of the year. Doctor Strange was the highest grossing origin solo movie for the MCU. Hell, Deadpool is now the highest grossing X-Men movie and the highest grossing R-rated movie. Critically is when things start to go downhill. If we go by a critical website like Rotten Tomatoes, for example, only 3 films actually had fresh ratings. 4, on the other hand, were rotten. So, let's go from the best to the worst on this week's episode. Which superhero film was the best last year? Which was the worst? And this is just my opinion, so don't get your knickers in a knot if you don't agree. This is just what I think, okay? What I'm saying is in fact. Also, this is subject to change because I have evolving thoughts on film, so a couple of these might switch around in positions. So, let's get into it. This is 2016 for superhero movies. Was it hit or miss?
Everything they've built will fall! And from the ashes of their world, we'll build a better one! I've never felt power like this before.
Number 1. It probably isn't a surprise, but yeah, I think Civil War was the best superhero movie of 2016. If you've been subscribed to me for a while, then you've already seen me count down the top 10 parts of this film, and even make a near hour-long video defending it. Both videos will be linked in the description too, might I add. Shameless plug. Excuse me. I generally think Civil War is one of the best superhero movies out there. It's got great action, good characters, an interesting premise, good acting, and some interesting ideas at play. I also like that this film has something to say, mainly the talks of vengeance and how it can consume anyone, even the best of us. I'm not saying a good movie needs to have this kind of depth, but one of the reasons Civil War I think is better than a lot of the other MCU films is because it has something to say. The political stuff is also good because it doesn't portray one side as definitively right and one side as definitively wrong. It lets the audience decide for themselves, and the new characters are also set up very well. Black Panther has a great arc, Spider-Man is just perfectly cast, and that airport fight gives me chills every single time. Great film! 9 out of 10. Number 2, Deadpool. Now, technically, I switch between this and the next film on the list a lot, but as of right now, Deadpool wins by like a hair. It's very close. Anyways, Deadpool is a good movie because it knows exactly what it wants to be. It's got a terrific performance by Ryan Reynolds and some extremely hilarious sequences. Colossus is probably written the best here than in any other X-Men film, ironically, and the dynamic between Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Deadpool is great. The romance between Wade and Vanessa is set up well, and the action is pretty good too. Plus all the metahuman and fourth wall breaking is terrific. If there's anything wrong with this movie, it's that Ajax as a villain is just sort of there as an object of revenge. He doesn't really have that much of a character, unfortunately. But overall, I was very impressed by Deadpool, and I can't wait to see some more R-rated superhero movies in the future. Check it out. 8 out of 10. Number 3, Doctor Strange. Yes, this film only just falls behind Deadpool by a bit, but as I said, I keep sort of switching between them. Doctor Strange is easily one of the most visually spectacular MCU films. It's shot really well, and all the trippy sequences are great. The special effects are also very well done, and Benedict Cumberbatch I think was a great choice for Stephen Strange. Benedict Wong was also great casting too, and I also really like Mordo in this film. He has a spectacular character arc in this film that perfectly sets up his character to be a great villain down the line. The action was pretty good, and the final sequence is great. The way Strange wins in the end was really clever and also perfectly concludes his arc for the film. Because in the end, he was willing to die over and over again for all eternity to stop Dormammu. It was also something different. We've never really seen a hero win by literally outsmarting the villain like this. Most movies end with the hero managing to get the upper hand somehow in a fight, but never like this. It was an ending that I didn't see coming, and that's great. The villain is the only real problem with this film. He's sort of bland, and that annoys me a little because you can see the potential with Caecilius, with what the film does tell us about him. His family died and now he wants to stop death forever. Mads Mikkelsen does what he can with the screen time he has, but it just wasn't enough in the end. He needed to be on screen more. However, I thought Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One was really good, and I'm very excited to see Strange return in upcoming MCU films. Check it out. This one also gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Number 4, X-Men Apocalypse. This film is decent. It's about 50% good stuff, 50% bad stuff. The tone is very inconsistent during this film. Magneto's arc is very dark and everyone else's isn't. Apocalypse pales in comparison to Magneto, who is a much more interesting and well fleshed out villain. Jennifer Lawrence isn't as bad as some say, but she isn't good either. It's a pretty bland performance. Some of the CGI is a bit off in this film too, and certain horsemen like Psylocke are just there. I think Psylocke gets like 5 lines or something. No, I'm pretty sure Magneto's family have more lines, and they're just there to die. So make of that what you will. I mean, Storm gets an arc, but she feels underused along with Angel. The whole Wolverine cameo is extremely forced and contrived, and Apocalypse's powers probably could have been fleshed out a little better. The whole film builds to this gigantic action sequence that feels as if it's too long, probably because there wasn't really any action before this. And some pacing problems there too. Some of the performances are pretty good. The Quicksilver scene is good, even if it clashes with Havoc's death a bit too much. And the film is clearly trying, it's just too bogged down and being unsure of whether it wants to be a more serious X-Men film like X-Men 2 or a more lighthearted MCU film. It's still enjoyable for the most part, so it gets an score of 5 out of 10. Number 5, Batman the Killing Joke. Yeah, this was a big disappointment for a lot of people. If you're not aware, the Killing Joke comic is a highly praised Batman story written by Alan Moore, which is all about the Joker attempting to turn Gordon insane by giving him one bad day. Similarly, the Joker gets a backstory in this book in which he experiences a similar one bad day that drives him insane and turns him into the Joker. I think I said similar one too many times in that sentence. Batman, meanwhile, attempts to stop the Joker's plan whilst also trying to find a way to end his rivalry with the Clown Prince of Crime before it ends with one of them killing the other. So things did not turn out well for the animated adaptation. One criticism of the original book is how Barbara Gordon is just there to be shot, so they try to give her more to do in the animated film. Unfortunately, it just leads to this really superfluous first half of the film, and a bizarre sequence where she and Batman have sex. I'm not joking about that, by the way. That actually happens. In a movie that was green-lit, and people were paid to write that. I actually think this film is good once it does get to the actual Killing Joke part, because it's Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill as Batman and the Joker. You can't go wrong there. It's just unfortunate that the whole Batgirl prologue is so badly written and so goddamn tedious that it ruins the second half. Unfortunately, this one gets a rotten rating, 4 out of 10. Number 6, Suicide Squad. One of the good things about Killing Joke is that because it only runs for something like 70 minutes, the film has fairly good pacing and it never gets boring. Unfortunately, Suicide Squad and the final film on this list don't have that luxury. Suicide Squad was a mixed bag the first time I saw it, and no, I haven't seen the extended cut yet. From what I've heard though, it changes basically nothing. The second time I saw the theatrical cut, I was bored. Really bored. Why? Because this film has terrible editing and structure. The first act repeats a lot of the same information, all the characters are set up via clunky exposition, and the songs in this film are extremely forced. Either they're not very subtle, just too jarring, or don't even make sense. Why does You Don't Own Me play for Harley Quinn? She's obsessed with a man and even has the words property of Mr. J on her jacket. How is she not owned by anyone exactly? Will Smith and Margot Robbie are trying, but the writing isn't anything special, and the villain is both badly written and poorly acted. Jared Leto isn't terrible, but he isn't good either, and he's so superfluous to the film that they might as well have just cut him out completely. He's barely in the movie anyway. Why do they promote this character so heavily when he has barely any impact on the story, and only ever interacts with Harley? Overall, a disappointment. It turns out David Ayer only had 6 weeks to write the script for this movie, and by God does it show. 3 out of 10. Last but not least, number 7, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, I have seen the ultimate cut for this movie. Too bad it doesn't really do anything. This movie is already too long, and while the ultimate cut does fix some things, it just makes the movie even more unnecessarily long. This film also happens to be pretentious. It gives out a lot of symbolism and questions and imagery that it never actually bothers to answer or do anything with. It's just there. It's just there to try and make the film look smart, which it isn't. Batman and Superman are both poorly written characters. I mean, Superman's choices in this film make no sense. Lex Luthor is acted so poorly that it ruins anything potentially interesting about his character. Seriously, who told Eisenberg to act as if he was in a cartoon? Gal Gadot is fine as Wonder Woman, but I'm not sure if she's good enough to hold a film by herself. Seriously, I'm a little worried about Wonder Woman right now. The Justice League setup in this film is anything but subtle, and is so forced that it's embarrassing. The plot is nonsensical, and the film overall feels like multiple movies all awkwardly mashed together. The movie looks good, but good imagery isn't enough to save the film from things like the Martha scene.
Save Martha!
Sorry, I had some bad writing stuck in my throat. Overall, this film is it's just a gigantic disappointment. It butchers the death of Superman, butchers the holy DC Trinity, and butchers the entire DC cinematic universe. Or extended universe, whatever the hell they're calling it. I don't even want to hate this movie. I really don't. I just can't help but be completely infuriated by it. I went into denial after seeing this, but now I've completely accepted that I outright despise this film. It's just so frustrating because you can see the potential in there. It's Batman vs Superman. Why isn't it automatically the most awesome thing ever? Yeah, so just don't see it. I don't recommend this movie at all. I was actually really happy when I saw all the Razzie nominations this film got, because I think it's bad. And for those who are going to cry and call me biased and an idiot, or I just don't understand the movie, shut up. It's my opinion. Just calm your tits, alright? At the very least, I don't need to shut down a website to get some validation over a movie. Jesus Christ. So yeah, I think this movie is extremely frustrating and disappointing. 3 out of 10. It deserves all the bad reviews it got, if you ask me. So those are my thoughts on all the 2016 superhero movies. Overall, yeah, mixed bag. 3 good ones, 3 bad ones, 1 middle one. It's as pretty mixed as you can get. So, tell me in the comments how you'd rank the movies, and what's your most anticipated superhero movie of the year. For me, I keep switching between Spider-Man Homecoming and Logan. Logan's right around the corner, so I'm pretty psyched, because it's had some pretty good trailers. So anyway, What? What was that? I forgot that animated Batman movie where Adam West was voicing the character? But that doesn't count, does it? It does? Well. This is awkward. I'm sure I'll get to it eventually. Subscribe! Groovy out!